welcome to Gen Z Coders. This is the 9th tutorial for Python. This time we're going to be learning about lists and dictionaries. So a list is a value that contains multiple values in an ordered sequence. So the term list value refers to the list itself, which is basically a value that can be stored in a variable or passed to a function like any other value. So that term refers to the list itself rather than the values that are actually inside that list value. So list value actually looks like this. Let me show you an example. So you can have, let's say, like green, yellow, red, blue, right? And then you close it with that square bracket. So just like string values start and end with the inverted commas, a list begins with an opening square bracket and closes with a closing square bracket. The values inside the list will always be separated by commas. So the values inside can either be strings, integers, floats, or even Boolean values. So you can have a list that actually even has each of them. So let me show you another example. So I can have, let's say, yellow, 1, 1.5, and true, right? And that can be a list, and it's completely alright to have different types of values in one. So let's say I create a list and I store it in the variable animals, right? So I create one and I say, okay, let's say bear, dog, cat, cat, pig. Okay, let's just end with pig. Right. So this is my list: bear, dog, cat, and pig. Now, if I say animals and I put 0 over here, it will give me a bear, right? So it would evaluate to the first value that is stored in the list. Then animals, and if I put 1 over here, it will give me the second, which is a dog. And the third would be like cat, the second would be cat, the third would be pig, and so on basically. So now let's say you pick like animals 32, right? Let's try that. We don't have 32 values obviously, but let's see what we get, right? So it would tell me that the list index is out of range, right? So it would not give me a certain value, okay? So the integer inside the square brackets is actually called an index. It is important to note that an index can only be an integer value, right? Because obviously we can have like 1.5, so it can be like in between bear and dog or whatever. So it has to be an integer value. So another thing, so let's say, we can also get sublists from a list, and to do this we can actually say animals. So let's say animals, and then we can put this and we can say 1, 2, 3, right? And it would give us dog and cat, right? Because dog would be dog would be 1, and then cat would be 2. So over here what's happening is that 3 is not actually included, so it's not inclusive of the second number. It's only inclusive of the first one, which would be dog, and then we'd have cat, right? So it's not inclusive of 3, so it'd give us the first and the second one. Alright, so besides this, now another thing that you can do with lists is actually you can get the length. So similarly as we use on strings, we can use the len function over here. And so we can say len and then animals, and it would give us 4, right? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 over here. So we can use that as well. And besides this, we can also change the values in a list by using the index. So let's say I want to change the second value in this to something else. So let's say I want to change, so let's say I want to change like dog to, let's say, what can we change to? A turtle, okay? So I can say animals, and I can say 1 is equal to, what do we say? Turtle, right? Turtle. And now I can call the animals variable to look at the list, and it would now be updated so we can bear, turtle, cat, and pig. Now I can also change it by duplicating a value. So I can actually say animals 1 is equal to animals 2. So now if I call animals, it would be bear, turtle, bear, cat, cat, pig, right? And so that's basically how it works, okay? That's how you can almost change it. Besides this, I can also combine two lists and replicate one just the way we did with strings. So I can actually say, like, let's say 1, 2, and 3, plus I can say, let's say, cat, sat, and mat, all right? And it would give me 1, 2, 3 cat, sat, mat, right? That's how it, because it would combine the two lists and it will give me one complete list, regardless of whether one list contains like integers and the other list contains strings or whatever data types. It doesn't really matter in this case because you're just combining two lists. You're technically not combining an integer and you're not technically adding an integer to a string. You are adding two lists, right? Besides this, I can even replicate a list by saying, let's say, A, B, and C, and I can close that, and then I can say into, so multiplied by, let's say 5, and it would give me A, B, C 5 times exactly, so that list would replicate, it would, so the values in the list would replicate, and I would get it 5 times each. Okay, so besides this, we can also ask Python to sort the values either alphabetically if they're strings, or in an increasing order if they are numbers. So let's say, okay, we can take the animal example again. So we can say animals dot sort, right? Oops, hold on. We forgot the parentheses, so we can do animals dot sort, right? So now it has sorted the animals, and we can check that out now. We can call it. We can say it gives us bear, cat, cat, pig. Okay, that's because it's not like it's already sorted because like it's already alphabetically sorted. So actually, let's change it back to the original one, and then maybe you guys can see that it actually works. Dot sort, and it would now, let's call it, so first it was bear, dog, cat, pig, but then it becomes bear, cat, dog, pig because you have not sorted it alphabetically. And you can do the same thing. So let's say numbers is equal to 1, 2, 3, 7, 2, 5, right? Actually, let's make that 4. Then I can say numbers dot sort, and it was sorted out, and when I call it now, it will give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 in order. Okay. Now the last two things that we're going to be learning about lists are the delete and append functions. So if I wanted to completely remove one value, I can simply use the del statement and say, so I can say del animals, let's say 2, right? And now I can call it again, it would just give me bear, cat, pig. It deleted a dog because that is animals too. So basically that's how I can delete it. So we can also do the same thing by just saying animals.remove. And so it's actually a pretty simple function. It's just this thing. And then in the parentheses, you just enter which value or whatever you want, right? Now, another function that we have is the append function. So if I wanted to add a new value to the list, I can say animals.append. So I can say animals.append, and then I would say, how about like, maybe I can say, what's another, maybe kangaroo? Yeah, let's go for it. Okay, and now I can check out animals, and it will give me bear, cat, pig, kangaroo. right? And another function to do the same thing is also insert. Now the difference between these two is that the insert function actually allows you to insert the value at a specific index. So I can actually say animals dot insert let's say 1, and this time let's pick another animal, so I can say elephant. So now if I call it, instead of inserting at the end the way the kangaroo inserted at the end, I can say bear, elephant, cat, pig, and kangaroo, so it just came in the middle of it, right? And that's how I can use the index. Alright, so now I just want to show you one situation where we can actually use a list in a program, right? So hold on a second, let me just open the file. Right. So this is an example, actually, that I can show you. Right. So basically what happens over here is that first we have a blank list, right? So spam is, let's say, a blank list. Then it says print how many pets do you have. Now it asks for an input, and it obviously converts that input to an integer because this needs to be a numeric value. Now we say if I is greater than 0, so if the person has more than one pet, if the person has, has a pet actually, then we say for x in range I, so for the number, so here I would be the number of pets that they have, right? So for the number of pets that they have, ask enter the name, or to say enter the name of the pet, and then plus string x plus 1. So x plus 1 would be basically the number of the pet. So if it was the first pet, it would say enter the name of pet 1, and for the second it would say enter the name of pet 2. Then we have another variable that's created, which is just j, right? And this is the name of the pet, right? And I know j is not exactly really descriptive, doesn't really sum it up, but basically let's just stick with it for now. So j is where you store the input. So j is where you store the name of the pet that the person has now inputted. Then we use the append function to append j to spam. So let's say the first time I say my input is, let's say, like Tom, right? The name of the name of my first pet is Tom. Then it would append, or it would add Tom to this list, to the spam list. Then again, let's say I said that I had two pets, right? Tom and, let's say, Jerry, right? So if I say, so then the first time it would add Tom over there. Then the second time, because I've said 2 times, it would ask me again, and this time I would say Jerry, and then it would add Jerry to the list as well. And then it would basically create a list with Tom and Jerry, the 2 names of my pets now. Okay? Now, after that, after it has taken all the inputs, after it has taken all the values from me, the strings and the names of the pets from me, it is going to say if I is equal to 1. So if you have only one pet, then it's going to say the name of your pet is, and then print whatever that list is, whatever the name of the pet is. Else, you can print the names of your pets are. So this is basically just for grammatical, the sake of grammar, in case it's greater than, in case it's 1, or in case it needs to be plural, so like plural was a singular, and that's basically why we have the 2 different options, right? And then anyways, so that's how it should be, right? And then the last part where it says else, well, that basically happens if I is equal to 0, right? So if I is equal to 0, if you have no pets, then it just says, well, this program is not for you then, I suppose, right? Okay. Let's just run this so that you understand how this works. So it asked me, how many pets do you have? I'm going to go with 3 this time. I'm going to say, Tom, Jerry, and Larry. Okay, and it says the names of your pets are Tom, Jerry, Larry. Let's just run this one more time. This time I can just say 1, and I can say Tom, just Tom. And it says the name of your pet is Tom. Alright? So I hope you guys were able to process all of that. I know it's a lot, and so I'm just going to talk about one more thing. So we're going to learn about the dictionary data type. So like a list, a dictionary is it's basically a, hold on, let me just get that right. A dictionary is a collection of many values. This is just like the list. But unlike indexes for lists, indexes for dictionaries can use many different data types, not just integers. So indexes for dictionaries are called keys, and the key associated with the value is called a key-value pair. In the code, we write a dictionary with like the curly brackets. So let's name a variable as my cake, right? So we put the equal to sign over here. Now, in this, we can say, let's say size, and over here we put the colon, which indicates that this is, so the size over here then would be the index, right? So I can say size is large. Then I can say flavor is chocolate, I guess. And then we can say texture is, I don't know, let's say fluffy, right? So we have a fluffy chocolate cake now. So that's, then I can close that with the curly brackets, remember this time. So now we can call, we can say my cake, and then we can say flavor, right? And flavor would be our index then, so size, flavor, and texture would be our indexes. And we can say chocolate, right? Because that's what it would give us, because we've said that the flavor is chocolate. So actually, this is one of the many reasons behind why it's called a dictionary, right? Because obviously you're defining something using a different word. So that's actually what a dictionary is. So the difference between a list and a dictionary is that unlike a list, a dictionary is unordered. The first item in a list would be like, let's say if, again, we were talking about the animals, then we'd have animals like 0. That would be the first item. But there is no first item in a dictionary, right? Because the index that would be given would not be an integer. Instead, I mean, it could be an integer, but it would be ordered this way, because it could be a string, and that string wouldn't be the first string, okay? So now, actually, I'm going to open a second file to show you another example of this, actually. So let's open that up. Okay, so let's look at this. So the first part says ages. Now here we're making a dictionary. So it says ages, then it says first Riley. So Riley is 14 years old. So we've mixed strings and integers over here, if you can see. Then we said Kim is 17, Alex is 19, Amy is 41, and Jesse is 23. All right? Then we have the while function, the while loop, rather. So we say while true, print, enter a name or a blank to quit, basically. And then it asks for a name, an input, right? So if the name is equal to, if it's a blank string, then you're just going to break it, right? Because it says blank to quit. So if you don't want to enter a name, you can just click enter, and then the program then just breaks. It ends, okay? Otherwise, it says if name in ages is, so if the name is in ages, so let's say you say Riley, then Riley is a part of that age, right? Is a part of that dictionary. It's a part of that set, which is why we say if name in ages, which means if the name entered is in ages, is in that variable ages, is in that dictionary actually ages, then we say print stir ages name. So basically, here is where we are getting that age. So if let's say the age, so let's say again we say Riley, right? So then name would be Riley, and then when we call this, we would find out what the age is, right? Because over here, it's basically like using the index, right? Over here, we said my cake flavor, so here we use age's name to find out the age. Now, again, we have to convert this to a string because obviously we cannot add an integer to a string. So here we convert that to a string, and we say that age is the age of whatever name that we've entered. Now, else. So this if else means that else, so if basically the name is not an ages, so if it's a random name, then what we say is I do not have enough information, or I don't have information about that person, I don't have enough information about that name. And then you say print what is their age, and then you say age is equal to input, and then we put the parentheses, obviously. And then we say age's name is equal to age. So here what we're doing is basically we are adding another value, right? We are adding another person's name. We're adding another person's information here. And then after that, basically it says age database updated. So let's just run this program once to see. So let's say Amy, right? And it gives me 41. And then I can just click blank to quit. Otherwise, let's run this again this time, and this time, let's enter a name like Maya, right? It says, I do not have information about Maya, so let's say her age is 15. So it says age database updated. Now it says enter a name. So here I can say Maya this time, and it would say 15 is the age of Maya, because now that those values have been added to the dictionary, they've been updated. So now we have the information, and that's why it works, and that's why it says that 15 is the age of Maya. All right? Okay. Now the very last thing I want to show you guys is the Magic 8-Ball program. If you watched the previous tutorial, you remember that we created a Magic 8-Ball program in which we made use of the elif statements. The code for that was pretty long, and so now that we know about this, let's look at another way to write the same program, which would have the same output, but with a really short code. So let me just show that to you. Okay, so here we have, okay, I guess we can close that. Right, this was our Magic 8-Ball program, right? We had import random, and then we had like get answer, and then we had if this is 1, then do that, if this is 2, do that, if this is 3, do that, if that's 4, whatever, right? And we had a long code, right? So here is the code with using just, here's the code when we use just lists, okay? So short. Like, let's just compare the two things. Now, in the previous video, I remember I told you guys that there are multiple ways to do things, and that's why there's multiple ways to do both of these tasks. Now, the reason I taught you guys this was because I kind of wanted to explain to you how we can use the define functions. But now that we also know about lists, we can compare the two programs, and we can see that obviously one is more efficient, one is easier, much easier to write down, and one is much shorter. So it would be obviously much better to choose this one, right? So let me explain to you what exactly this does. Obviously, first it says ask your question, then it takes the input. Then it basically says it is certain. So these are the different options, right? It is certain, yes, definitely, reply, hazy, whatever. So these are the same messages that we've written over here. So it is certain, it is definitely so, yes, whatever. Okay? After this, we say print messages, random int, whatever. Okay, so let me explain this to you. So first, obviously, when we have something like this, right, when we have the variable name first, right, so messages, and then we put the index in the square brackets, right? So we would usually say like messages and then 1, right? That's how we would get the number. But here we don't want to put a specific number because we want it to be randomized. So here we would say random.randint, which would generate a random number. And then here, this is our length. So this is our range, actually. That would be a much better word. This is our range of what the random number should be. Because if you just say random.randint, it's going to give you, it might even choose 100. But we don't have 100 messages over here. We have only like, I don't even know, but we only have like, I think 9, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we only have 9 messages over here. Now, what this is going to do is, first, obviously, because the index starts with 0, so this is value number 0, right? So it would definitely, the range would start with 0. Now we have we're doing length of messages minus 1. Now the length of messages would be, if it's 9, then it would be 9, right? So because there are 9 messages, we would say 9. But we cannot say that keep the length of messages, so it shouldn't be 0 to 9, because while there are 9 values, the last index is going to be 8, right? So the last one, which, hold on, let me just Okay, we can just look at it over here. The last one, which is very doubtful, is going to be index number 8, because if it starts at 0, obviously the last one can't be 9, which is why even though the length of messages would be 9, we have to subtract 1, because the index of the last one would be 8. So the range would be 0 to 8, and then it's going to pick a random integer from 0 to 8, and from that integer is going to be your index. So let's say it picks between from 0 to 8, and by the way, that's inclusive of both values. Let's say it picks 5, right? And then it's going to be messages, and then this part would basically evaluate to 5. So it would be the 5th message in this, okay? So again, this is a very, very efficient, this is a much more efficient way of doing this same thing, right? And it's almost like when you learn more code, you kind of understand like how to make programs more efficient. And I think that's one of the main parts of programming, that you kind of have to learn how to avoid making the code too long and make it as short as you possibly can without hampering the output. So actually let's do that now. So let's run both programs and let me show you that they're both equal and they're both the same. So first let's run this one. Okay, the one with the shorter one. Let's just save that. Okay, so it says please ask your question. Let's just ask, is my name Gen C Coders? And it says reply hazy, try again. Alright, so it still gives me a random option. And again, wait, let's run this again to see if it does change the output this time. So is my name Gen Z Coders? Right, and this time it says my reply is no. So yes, it is definitely randomized, and it gives us like many different possibilities, many different messages rather. Now let's try the other one, right? Let's go to this one and let's say run. So it says, please ask your question. Is my name Gen Z Coders? Right? And it says it is decidedly so. And again, if I run this program again, is my name Gen Z Coders? It is decidedly so. Well, this is probably because, hold on, just give me a second. Okay, we can run this again. I know this is pretty. Is my name Gen Z Coders? And it would say look not good. So yeah, it is definitely randomized. Obviously over here, the program chose the same number twice in a row, but that's completely alright. That's no problem. So yeah, if you look at it, basically the output is practically the same throughout, regardless of which program you choose, regardless of which code type you choose, and it's kind of up to you which type you want to do. But honestly, I would just recommend this one solely because, I mean, this has like 4 lines, guys, and this has like a lot, this has a lot of lines, right? Like I think 24 if I'm not mistaken, yeah. So would you choose 4 lines over 24 lines? Definitely. So, I mean, it's just very, very effective. A lot more easy, a lot more, like, I think, definitely effective again, and it's just better for you guys as well, which is why I would definitely suggest trying this one instead of the other one. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you learned plenty. Again, I know that this was probably a lot to take in considering the number of functions that I told you guys about. I'm gonna be writing down the functions in a presentation that's in the link below. So if you just want to kind of recall or note down all of the functions, it's available in the presentation that's in the description. So anyways, I hope you learned plenty. I'll see you in the next video. Happy coding!